We have another fun episode today with my friend Greg. So we're going to go and get started. Greg, if you want to introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers to kind of get
You threw me off there when you called me Greg. Like, I think only my wife and one of my old bosses did that. It's usually Docs. And
Hey, Docs.
I don't have a preference, but just threw me off with that. Yeah. So, hello, everyone. I'm Greg Doxakis. I'm with Maison Ferrand, importer and maker of fine French spirits.
Well, I know we've known each other for, since I've been here for 8 years in Houston. And I met you right when you started with Maison Ferrand.
Yep.
The West.
Yeah.
That's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you do with Maison Ferrand.
I do everything, Patrick. I do everything, literally. So no, it's pretty much me and, Bex, of course. She's our Houston area manager and Pete up in Dallas. But, when I started with the company, it was just me and it was just Texas. But the funny thing about it is when I took the job, I really had no idea what it was. And I took it under like strange circumstances because, I worked at RNDC, the distributor, for 10 years. I was kind of I don't know what not the craft guy, but I was just sort of the guy. And in the sense that, I brought something to the table, but nobody was really sure how to put it down on paper and that sort of thing. You know what I was? I like to explain it like this. My last couple of years, or my last year at RNDC was, there's like a popular sitcom and it gets a spinoff. And when the spinoff isn't doing so well, they send the most popular character into the spinoff for a couple of appearances to get it back up.
Yeah.
This guy.
Heard. Okay.
So no, but just, I think I was just a hired personality at RNDC. And I think that, the going to Maison Ferrand never even occurred to me. It just, for some reason, never even occurred to me. I don't know why. I think mostly because most of the people that I worked with for decades, and keep in mind, I've been waving their flag since my bartender days, back in caveman days when, we just invented fire and also, the apple martini. But I was a huge fan of the cognac, especially back then. So I always had a passion for the brands. I knew that the brands were the real deal. And back then we didn't have very lovely packaging. So it was like not much to look at, but you're not going to find anything better than a bottle. But to actually go work for the company, it never occurred to me. And under some very unfortunate circumstances, someone who I cared very much about, her name was Sarah. She worked for the company and she lost her husband to cancer and he actually worked for Brown-Forman. And the entire time she was with the company, she was dealing with that. And she never really got a chance to sink her, get her teeth into the job and that sort of thing. And she just called me up one day and she says, "Hey, listen, Docs, I don't have much time left. Or Victor doesn't have much time left. And I just can't do this job anymore because I want to be with my husband," which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
And she goes, "It's something that you'd be interested in." And it was just, I think if you look up in the dictionary of conflicted emotions, I've never had such a perfect example of that. Because the one idea of working for these brands and for Alexandre Gabriel in this great company, but at the cost, or I should say the circumstances of someone I care about, one of the worst things happening to them, it was not a great feeling, one of the best things happening to me at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it was weird. But, of course, I took the job. Alexander, he knew who I was, and I got to know Guillaume, who is my current boss. He's our VP of the Americas. Actually, I don't think he's called that anymore. I think he hates that name, but I'm just going to use it because he hates it. So, I started off just covering Texas. I don't even think I had a title, and I did everything. And I thought it was just going to be like walking into bars and to liquor stores and saying, "Hey, want to try this great booze?" It was so much more than that. Just I kind of had to, with a little bit of help from RNDC, I kind of teach myself the backside, the boring, dull side of the business and that sort of thing. And it's kind of blossomed from there to where we built our brand enough to we could actually put more people on the team. But it's still very much so a jack of all trades position. I wear a lot of hats, all the hats and that sort of thing. So my current title was it regional director for the Central Region. So Central Regional Director, which is Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Tennessee.
And which of those markets, of course, is Texas the biggest?
Oh, yeah. By far. Now, listen, Texas, honestly, historically speaking, it's always been the strongest Maison Ferrand territory, especially with Citadel. We sell more Citadel in Texas than any other state, but most of the major states, most of the states combined, we're by far the biggest Citadel house.
Have you figured out why?
Yes, because I'm just that good. No. Honestly, I'm going to give full credit to not only the people before me. Hugo Chambon comes to mind. I don't know if you met him before, and Victor Bouvier, who's now our Ferrand and he's our regional director for the Midwest, Chicago and
Yeah.
whatnot. You know, those guys worked their ass off. But not only that, we were just embraced by some of the most, not I don't say just the best bartenders, but the most people that really wanted to build something. You know, we got embraced by them. We were embraced by Anvil. We were embraced, God, somebody come to mind here. Fluttered in. You know, Justin Burrow has always been a huge supporter of ours. Bobby Hugo and everyone would turn, you know, and these guys, they know their stuff. It's not because, you know, there's no big deals going on here, and it's not because, you know, we're a flash in the pan brand. They just recognize the quality of it, and it's the ultimate compliment. I give them full credit for helping us build that brand and being a foundation to spread out to the rest of the country.
And you mentioned you were a bartender before. Where did you start bartending at?
I threw keg parties in high school. I learned from a guy named Benny Zamora. He had 3 rules, okay? Never charge $1 more than per keg that you have. Let's see here. What was it? Stop charging after, like, I think 10 o'clock at night. And it's a question of, it's not a matter of if it gets busted, it's when it gets busted. So just pretty much abandon the, be ready. You're going to lose your deposit on the, can I get in trouble for this? I don't know. It's just a joke. No, I threw keg parties in high school, but paid for prom that way. But, you know, my first bartending gig, I think like a lot of people, especially back, you know, when I was first in the business, all of us waiter types looked up to the bartenders. They were gods. You know, we were just these lowly waiters waiting on tables. You know, nowadays, I think if I were to, with maturity and some bit of wisdom, I think I'd do the exact opposite. You know, I think I could just go wait tables and just be happy with that. You know, so, you know, that's how I started. I worked in lots of restaurants and finally, you know, bugged the boss enough where I'd get my shot at going to train behind the bar. Sometimes it was great, sometimes not so much. I think I wish that I had a better level of maturity back then.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I mean? Because it was a different. It was a different world back then. You know. Now my first, I credit the bartending job that I had that kind of led me to where I'm at today and helped me build a expertise, as I might say, in spirits and that sort of thing, was Downing Street. Okay. It was a cigar bar in its heyday in the early 2000s. I got to work there, and before that, it was all shot in the beer bars. You know what I mean? I didn't know the difference between single malt and blended whiskey. I knew nothing, and just being thrown into the mix there and having a whole wall of single malts and learning about port wine and bourbons and I remember we were one of the first bars to bring in like Pappy Van Winkle and Buffalo Trace, and people were asking, "What's this crap?" Crap, you know this. And I'm not saying that we started the bourbon craze, but I think we were ahead of it. You know, we had a real appreciation for whiskeys and spirits, and that's where I learned a genuine fascination with spirits. And that's, I get this question all the time. It's like, how did you get to where you are? What'd you do and that sort of thing? And honestly, it wasn't about studying. I think there's people out there that are going to know so much more about spirits than I know. I've only got so much room up here, you know, but it's a genuine fascination that built to a good, I would say, a pretty decent vault of knowledge. I don't want to call it an expertise. I'm not an expert, you know, but I think I'm not ashamed of what I know or how much I know.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of just self-taught yourself to where you are.
Yeah, I did. You know, I picked up a book here or two, asked some questions, and I also learned this, and this is something that I would say to any bartender. If at any time you feel offended that someone thinks you don't know everything, get over it, because you're never done learning. Listen to your customers. I think one of my favorite things, not my favorite, but my stand bias was when I talk about spirits, especially ones that I am not get to see personally made, as is my understanding, is my go-to phrase, because case in point, for the longest time, I thought that you couldn't ferment straight rye. I thought that we were led to believe that you had to throw in a handful of barley. You can ferment straight rye, but it's hard as hell, and it's usually a mess, and most people can't do it and don't want to screw with it, so they throw in a little bit of barley. So for all these years, I'm saying you can't do that until I think, a small one out of California that was doing 100% real straight rye.
Right. Okay.
Differently. And I kind of did a little more digging, and it was true. And we've been led to believe for years from, you know, the authority from the various whiskey makers out there and their trainers and the people that are going out to teaching education that was the case. Yeah. So my point is, you're never done learning. Just when you think you know something for sure, you may not be so sure. And as always, I'm like, as far as is my understanding,
So that's a good point, especially for a lot of bartenders. Is if you don't know, don't try and BS your way through it because
Uh,
people can see through it nowadays.
Yeah, and there's no
It's
shame in
yeah,
asking. I don't know. I mean, to this day, I'll be sitting here in a meeting with, like, I don't know, like I say, the executive VP of a distributor out there in their state, and they will use an acronym. I'm sorry, what was that? What was that acronym? I don't know that one. And I might look slightly dumb for 10 seconds, but it's going to be a lot better than moving the conversation forward and then coming back the next week not understanding. You know what I'm saying? So there's no shame in saying you don't know.
So we started. You're a bartender. How long did you bartend for before you made the jump into working in sales?
Man, a long time. I left bartending in 2006 to join RNDC. Yeah, and I think, you know, I think that had I done it earlier, I would have failed spectacularly. I don't think I was mature enough for it, and I just think that at that time, um, you know, as much as I enjoyed bartending, I was a bartender that did not fall too deeply into the bartender lifestyle, if you know what I mean. I mean, the older we get, we have to be careful. Like when we're in our 20s, we're bulletproof. You know, you get up in your 30s and a little higher, then you got to start rethinking things, and you can't stay out till 4 in the morning and just that sort of thing. I'm not saying don't do it. If you're in your 20s, go for it, man. Best years of my life. But this, you know when you're ready to evolve. And I hate to say that, I know I didn't really have a plan. It's just this something that looked good to me. And at that time, RNDC, the brands that I wanted to work with and the people that I wanted to work with, all at RNDC. And that was eons ago. It feels like it was.
And then when you were in DC, you started as a sales rep, and then what kind of progression did you take?
Sales rep, and I did management for a while. I was, I figured one thing out about me is that I prefer managing product over people.
Okay.
And not that I mind. I'll put it this way. I think it's just more that as a manager at RNDC, I did not always get a choice on who I'd be managing. And there's just I think for me to work, I would think I was a good manager. I don't think that I was a good corporate manager. I was not good at following the playbook. I would sometimes say, okay, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would we do that? You can't manage everybody the same way. And it just didn't fit a corporate playbook. And I think one of the things that I feel good about is that to this day, I still have employees, my own employees, that will call me and try and get advice on their next move in their professional career. And sometimes they're in our business, and sometimes they're not. But to this day, I still get texts. They'll hit me up and say, hey, what do you think about this? There were people that were never actually my direct subordinate, but they would come to me for guidance and that sort of thing. And I always took a lot of pride in that. It felt good to help others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And to this day, I still get people all the time like will thank me for certain advice. And sometimes I wasn't always right. I'll tell you that. There was one young lady. She went to go work for Deep Eddy, and I begged her not to because it was back then. It was just sweet tea vodka,
Okay.
and I go, "Don't do that. That's sweet tea vodka. It's just a craze. It's not going to last." I was wrong. They had the grapefruit. It's a home run. Boom. She made a career out of it. So good for her.
What have been so on the sales side of it for anybody who's interested in doing that? What were some of the challenges that you faced trying to make that transition?
You know. Okay, I think the best analogy here. Remember, I mentioned earlier that I was in KACC in Alvin for a few years.
Yeah,
it was the Alvin Community College, a radio station. I went there because at one time I had I'm not gonna say a dream, but I had an interest in media. And the difference between that station and the other college stations, it was considered to be the most respected in Texas. If you really wanted to get on the air, it was the one to go to. And the reason why is because, things like, there are some really fun radio stations at every college, but they do what they want. Say what you want to say, play what you want to play. That's not real life. In the radio world, they had to teach you to play things at certain times, hit this PSA at the right time, make sure that, you're ticking off all the check marks and that sort of thing. And it's very similar with the spirits world, especially when you go to work for a distributor. You don't always get to go sell what you love. There's a checklist. There's a to-do list. The one I always say is sometimes you got to have dinner before you have dessert. And I think it's a culture shock for a lot of people that come from the bartending side. And the first time they get in, been there, done that.
Yeah.
You just got to find a way to, and I'm not talking about being dishonest or disingenuous. You have to find something that you admire about something and take that focus and move with it. And just, do your best to find a good match for it. And every now and then, you got to take your hat off and go into a certain bar and say, please just try it. I'll make it up to you later.
Yeah.
just try it. It's the way it goes. And so I think that's a bit of a culture shock for people who try to get into our side. So I would always recommend is that, listen, go in, learn the backside of our business, learn the politics of the business, learn the do's and don'ts, and the etiquette of it, and pay your dues until you find your ultimate match or the one you're happiest with, or until you find your Maison Ferrand. And until that point, and then you're more mature for it, you're ready for it. And now you can go out there and do your heart's content. It's very, I'm super lucky that my vocation is also my avocation. It's my passion. It's my interest. I can't help but be fascinated by every aspect of the business. And I'm just very lucky, blessed to work for a company where I'm proud of every ounce of product that we make.
Yeah, for sure. It's very apparent when you and I have talked a lot about Maison Ferrand and how passionate you are about the brand. It's very present. And kind of going back to what you said earlier, I think from the sales side, one of the things as buyers, we also have to understand is like sometimes those reps have to show you that coconut rum that you don't really want to taste, but they have to bring it out of the bag.
Yeah. We could do an entire show on my Hall of Shame.
Yeah.
Anytime I see a bottle of Three Olives Dude out there, I'm like, sorry. Because it's the same bottle that I put in certain bars, 15 years ago.
Yeah. I haven't seen that brand out.
There's this one brand. It was a whole line extension called Pink, and they had a vodka, and then they came out with the gin, and then they came out with the clear whiskey. They came out with a tequila clear. It was all clear. It was all pink label, exact labeling, except for this one little thumbnail, like right where our crest of our totem is, that would say what it was, and it was just a nightmare. And it was caffeinated. I told you, it was caffeinated. And I was like, and then sure enough, the brands did. It so did. It didn't ever existed. And I just wanted to say, and even then I was just a sales rep. Then I go, what the hell is the matter with you? Do you understand how confusing this is going to be for the average consumer? Do you understand what a nightmare this is going to be for the people that are trying to stock the shelves? It was just a bad idea through and through and through and through, but I sold a lot of it. And I got a TV set for it too.
I got you. Oh, wow, look at you. Okay.
So sorry about that. Sorry about Pink, everyone.
Kind of going back to your sales interactions, what is your number one memory you have from an interaction with a buyer or bartender?
Too many. Honestly, I don't think I have a number one because there's too many. Are you asking from a sales point of view, or I feel like, boy, I really sold them?
No, from your personal.
Okay, good. Because honestly, I don't feel it that way. I don't even like saying sales. I think sometimes sales is getting people to do something they don't want to do. For me, I'm just more I'm a matchmaker. I like to be that matchmaker. I think one of the biggest memories, and it's one of my favorite memories, but it also happens to be one of my biggest screw-ups. I was in that paid personality mode. I was no longer being a salesperson. I started the craft division for RNDC, and we were doing a college recruitment day at Rice University, and I was there helping them recruit. It was a super, super cold day. It was in March. I was wearing full suit. That was back in my suit. You never knew me in my suit phase. So, and I had a huge outside jacket, like they were in New York. It was just a super cold day in Houston. And I had my phone deep buried in there. And after the event, which ended at 5:00, I went downtown, said hello to a couple of accounts, checked on a couple of things, got home at 6:30, and I finally pulled my phone out. And this is before smartphones, this is dumb phones. And I got like 25 missed calls from the people at Specs and the people at RNDC and people from the Hilton of Americas. I was supposed to be hosting a bourbon hour for this huge group of like 20,000 people at the Hilton of Americas. And my mind went to, okay, I need to go out, get back, go fake a wreck so I have an excuse. Things in my mind, man. I'm going to have to move to another country, change my name. I mean, everyone's pissed. The guy that was running the whole damn thing, I don't think he's there anymore. He threatened to sue us. He says he's going to sue me personally. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be fired. I'm going to get killed. It was embarrassing. You know those moments that you have those oh my god moments where it's just so surreal that you're not even aware of your surroundings or anything. It was just probably one of the worst feelings in my life, not just my professional career but life, because I knew that there was no one to blame but me. I just gelled. But the thing I'm proud about is I fixed it somehow. Months later. Because the Hilton of Americas was like this tall, every time I drive through like downtown, I felt like the Hilton of Americas was this tall building just giving me the finger. Saying, you idiot. And somehow, some way, with the help, I had full support from the artistic people. I'll give them credit for that. They didn't put me in a corner or anything like that. And this guy it was a bit overblown. Trust me, nobody in that place is going, where's Greg Doxakis? I paid to come see Greg Doxakis. Nobody was. They were there to drink Blanton's and Eagle Rare. But still, it was embarrassing. And that doesn't sit well with me. I don't know. I guess some people can just blow it off. Oh, well, I'm not an oh, well person. When I drop the ball, I'm pretty hard on myself. And this was probably the biggest. But what I was proud about is that sooner or later, just after, some gentle prodding and that sort of thing, and getting back in their good graces, I did like 6 more of those events for them. I was super proud of that. That made me feel really good that I could fix that situation because it looked really unfixable at one point. Okay. Yeah. And just, to go over the specifics of how I did, I think would take too long. But again, it was just phone calls here, emails there. Hey, I'm not going to go away until you hear me out and that sort of thing. And took it around the chin. Yeah. No excuse.
And I think that's a good example of how it's more relationship driven versus just sales driven in a certain aspect.
Oh yeah. No, there's no question about it. Relationship is a massive part of sales. No, and I hate calling it sales. It's a massive part of our industry. Yeah. No question about it.
Yeah, for sure. Transitioning now to Houston and kind of your bar travels. I think this is going to be a fun section. So I know you've traveled a lot across the U.S. and even in France when you go every year to Paris. How would you rate Houston as a market within the U.S. right now between our bar and food?
As good as any.
As good as any.
As good as any. Yeah. Absolutely. No question about it. I mean, I think that we are the beneficiary of not only having just such a huge land mass to play with here, but we have so much talent here. Homegrown and also some people that, some transplants also. I think we're very blessed to have some of the best talent that I can think of in bar programs and pride and knowledge. That's a big piece of it. I'd put it up against any bar scene. And yes, I've been to some good ones. I think, what the funny, now I think about it, I'm hard pressed to think of any overrated bars in Houston. I really am. At least, I'm sure there are, but, cocktail programs that are known, bars that are known for the cocktail program and not just, the 6-month period, the place to be seen. There's plenty that I can think of in other markets where I walk and I went, hey, it's okay. It wasn't bad, but just did it leave me wanting more? Not always. And there are some good ones that do, for sure. But I would say that my favorite bars that leave me wanting more, for the most part, are right here in Houston. There's so many to name, but I mean, just lay low. I think, I'm a sucker for tiki bars. I love tiki bars. And one thing I told Russell one last time I was in there we were contemplating additional tiki bars coming to Houston, and he was wondering, or not wondering, but just kind of like, someday it may hurt his business. I'm like, no way, dude, you're on the map, literally, because there's a tiki map there of all the best tiki bars in the country, and he's on there. You can't, I know it's a cliche, but you can't talk about it, not talk about it. And all of the spin-off products from there, just the bar BLT, the bar program, Squabble, all of them. It's a perpetual need to overachieve, excellence and execution.
Yeah,
we got Bad News Bar downtown. I love that bar. I just love putting my elbows up there. There's just so many to name. Johnny's Goldbreak, forget about it. I wish that, what sucks is I live so far from downtown Houston, or center of Houston. I'm in Missouri City, the Paris of Fort Bend County, and there's just not a lot of great bars out there. Rosewater, wish they'd open one out there in Missouri City, because they've shown that you can bring true cocktails to the burbs. That's not easy to do. And they've shown that you can do it and not only succeed, but to thrive and build. And I'm sure so many of them I can't think of right now, but I miss these places. I live here. I miss them because I spend most of my time in bars when I'm traveling, because I'm in a hotel. I got nothing else to do. And back in Houston, my family, which I enjoy spending time with, and I still got, grown up work to do, sober work as I call it, and just I'm not that close. These days, you don't want to fool around and you want to Uber because I'm not going to have one or two. It's just not going to happen. And it's not ideal. Honestly, the bars that I miss the most are right here in Houston.
What kind of trends are you seeing within your market? Like, are you seeing any kind of like cocktail trends that you think are coming or have been around?
Flavor-wise and that sort of thing? No, and this might be the pessimist. No, not pessimist in me. It's the worrywart in me. The trends that I see are the back of business trends.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah. I do worry that there are some really good bar programs that are starting to sacrifice quality over cost. Concerns me twofold. Bad for business, or my business at least, because we're not a value brand. We're not frightfully expensive, but by no means are we a value brand. But also, just it's sad. Obviously, professional, I can't say who. There was a particular chain that used to use a ton of our product, and a few years ago, they switched it out for something just cheap, and it made the drink so gross. But I see a trend, though, from the quality, and I used to brag about this particular chain, about how they were able to duplicate success having so many locations, and the rest of it's gone downhill. And that makes me sad, because even business aside and my practice side, I enjoyed going there. And I'm hearing this from friends also. So, and I don't know. I think this is something that we've been on it's been a slippery slope ever since COVID. I think that we're in what I would call a perceived bad economy, not the best economy, but nothing like 2008. I worked through that one. And I think a perceived bad economy is keeping people from spending more, which means that the outlets are making less, so they have to do two things: raise their prices and cut their costs just to keep things, the same profit levels they were before, or in some cases just keep their doors open. So that's concerning, because there is a quality issue. There's a reason why, and I'm at the risk of sounding, full of it or braggadocious here. There's a reason why we're popular with cocktail programs. Because we make sure that what we're putting out is the very best that we can do. We don't cut any corners. Alexander always tells this great story. For those of you who don't know, Alexander Gabriel is the owner of our company and our master blender. He tells a great story of when he was first earning his master blender stripes. He put down his first cognac, and they tried it for the first time, and his mentor, a gentleman by the name of Pierre, not Pierre Ferrand, told him it's good. And he celebrated. He's like, "That's awesome." He's like, "Yeah, no, that's not good. Good's not good enough. You got to shoot for great." And he has applied that, that logic, or I should say that passion, to every single thing we've ever put out. So, in commercials over. But that's the reason why, that we worry that more and more we're seeing some cocktail programs sacrifice quality for value.
Hopefully, I mean, with the economy the way it is, I think a lot of operators are having to make, like you said, adjustments to their business plan to at least keep the doors open, because rents are not going down; they keep going up. So that's the big thing. So hopefully, we'll continue seeing, like, the programs that are doing great are the ones that are continuing what they've been doing for years, but they're making the changes to their pricing. Right. And sometimes some people have increased pricing, or some have made pivots where they're keeping pricing the same.
And I think also, like any business, when things are good, listen, Bex. Bex. And Bex is, she's one of my favorite people, and I love the fact that she worked with us. But she's the rock star, man. She wants to. What if we do this and do that? I go, that's great. We're not going. She wants to. She's got, what's the phrase? $1 million taste, $200 budget.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just gonna die when I take this.
Yeah.
No, and it's not. It's just that when things are good and we're kicking ass, let's do it.
Yeah.
But when things are slow, it's like we're gonna hold off on any kind of expenditures that are not necessary right now. So I think any bar also, that's like the first step, just making sure that you're not glitzing it. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I know that for certain. I know a lot of brands too, or even are cutting back on certain budgets too. It's just kind of the nature of where we're at in the industry. Like, even talking to some other people within it, they're getting, their budgets are starting to get.
Yeah, I had a friend that works for a particular company that it's doing really well, really, really well, and even they got their marketing and travel budget. So it just, I think it's a response to, again, what's not a great economy and perceived as an outright bad one, and also the uncertainty of what's going to happen in a few months from now.
We're definitely seeing that right now with the presidential election. It happened last election too, where people's spending habits changed the entire
market hates uncertainty.
And then kind of wrapping up this segment, any notable cocktails that you've had lately?
Notable cocktail? Well, just recently we had Nico De Soto out in Austin and Dallas. Unfortunately, there was all done by him. He made a schedule. He didn't make a schedule for a Houston stop. Yeah. But he did some really fun things with our new cut and dry plantere, where he actually made a cauliflower-based pina colada at the Adolphus Hotel this past week in Dallas. And it was phenomenal. You could not tell it was called. When you say cauliflower, I guess I love cauliflower, but I don't know if I want it in my cocktails. And it was creamy. It was just a perfect pina colada, but you didn't feel as, I just had a whole milkshake afterwards, That was really cool. Enjoyed that. I'm a daiquiri guy, and I love to see people do fun things with daiquiris. I like to see them think out of the box. And so what I like to do is I tell people what I like, and sometimes I'll challenge them. Hey, why don't you give me your own little twist on what you think a daiquiri is, and don't feel the need to stick to the script. Go off-roading. And 9 out of 10 times, I love what I get. I like to let bartenders express themselves because I tell them all the time, listen, I'm no longer building houses anymore. And when I did, they were very simple houses. I sell the bricks. You build the house. Here's the bricks. Impress me. And they usually do. Yeah. I enjoy doing that a lot.
That's a good analogy to Mr. Potato Head or building the bricks. I'm sad I missed that cocktail. I know I was there with you guys in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't
that's
that
right. Oh, God, shame on me. We were together less than a week ago, and I forgot. Alcohol and brain cells and age, bro. That's a cocktail I don't enjoy.
Daiquiris are my favorite. I'm going to be more of a proponent to a conservative approach to just keeping it traditional.
Can I tell you my favorite? Do we have time? My favorite is a big surprise done at Trader Sam's in Disneyland. Not the one in Florida, though I had great experience there also this past spring break. But the one at the Disneyland Hotel, it's our Stiggins pineapple rum. It's going to be, I don't know the build, but it's our pineapple rum. It's falernum, it's bitters, and I'm trying to think if there's another honey syrup. Instead of just regular simple, it's honey simple, and it's by far my favorite. But I've had it perfectly duplicated at a lot of great bars. In fact, the Disney people can't say it. I had one that was just as good or almost just as good at the Roosevelt.
I'm going to go try it. I haven't been to Disney in a while. I know you're a Disney head, so.
Well, I will make you a map of where you can find our Plantere Original Dark at Disney World. There's over 25 locations there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
awesome.
That's why I'm going to make an app that shows you any place you can get Plantere at Disney. That's my thing now.
There you go. There you go. $1 million idea today. Cool. This will be a good little segue into Maison Ferrand. So let's talk a little bit about this company. Tell us a little bit about what Maison Ferrand is. I know we talked about Alexandre.
Yeah. So Maison Ferrand, the company, started in 1989. But the roots of Ferrand, no pun intended, go back over 10 generations of cognac making, or 300 years of cognac makers. The story is that Alexandre Gabriel, he back then, he had a company with his college friends that helped smaller French companies get all their ducks in a row to get ready to import, right? And one of those companies was the Pierre Ferrand. And this guy was not of the lineage of the Élie Ferrand. He was like a great nephew. His tree branch from the tree was pretty far from what we would come to know as the nucleus of the Ferrand family. And we had no idea at the time. Zero idea. All he knew was this guy's making some good cognac. It's all 100% grown champagne. He's always wanted to do that because he grew up in a wine family. His grandfather was a winemaker. And so he teamed with them. And as Monsieur Ferrand made delicious cognac, he was not a great business partner. So it just didn't work out for whatever reason. And, bought him out and the name stuck. And just because, they liked the name. And decades later, not quite decades, maybe almost 20 years later, that when we achieved access to the family home of Élie Ferrand, we call it Chateau Mademoiselle, because the last living family member there was a woman in her 90s, early 90s, and she went by Mademoiselle. She's insistent, no, call me Mademoiselle, because even though you weren't married in France now, it's with someone of respect, it's Madame. Mademoiselle is someone 6 years old, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But she was old school. She's very old fashioned. So she insisted we call it Mademoiselle. So that's why we call it Chateau Mimosa. You got to see it one time, right?
Yes, yeah,
Cool.
we went in 2019.
Right. So, and when we got access to like the attic and everything of that, we found so much history. We had no idea how deep the roots of the Ferrand family ran in cognac. We learned about, the 10 generations, and especially with Ile Ferrand VIII, how instrumental he was in bringing cognac as a global spirit. He was one of the first to actually bring it outside of Europe and take it to Australia and all, United States, all corners of the globe, taking it to world's fairs. We have this great correspondence with him and Gustave Eiffel. And it basically goes, hey, what are you doing for the fair? Bringing some cognac. What about you? Building a tower.
Yeah.
Pretty much went like that. I'm simplifying that, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
But, we have documentation of him influencing other cognac producers to adapt the grafting method of Texas roots. It wasn't his idea. He just heard about it in other parts of Europe and goes, guys, this is the answer. We should all do this. And we have a really great picture of him holding court with other cognac makers. They're like at some sort of, fair, and they're sitting at a picnic table, but they're all wearing their top hats and their tucks and tails and that sort of thing. And one of them we can identify as James Hennessy. So this is a guy that really was a big deal back then. His grandson, Ile Ferrand X, unfortunately died in World War I without producing an heir, and that's where the lineage died out. Good thing, because I think if it hadn't, the Ferrand name probably would have continued to grow and grow and grow, and probably belonged to a much bigger company now, and you and I would not be sitting there talking about it. But that's where it all started, was with cognac. And we quickly became recognized for doing some of the world's best cognac, all of it being 100% Grand Champagne, notoriety and awards, wine society people. We were their darling. If you know, people knew us. And before we grew into like a huge brand. But I'm going to speed it up a little bit because I know we don't got so much time. But everything that we do is sort of a line of causality, if you will. It's there for a reason. The reason why we make gin is because it's against the law to make cognac in the spring and summer months. In the stills, can't distill it. And that's where we started doing gin. So Citadel gin is going to be distilled. The final distillation is going to be done in the exact same stills that we make the Ferrand cognac, sort of. And we've grown. And as I say, it's like when you have kids, they can share a room. When they get older, they need their own room. Citadel needed its own room. So we brought in 12 stills, cognac stills, actual cognac stills, to make Citadel around the clock, 24/7. The only difference is they're not open flamed heated, because that's the law on cognac. It has to be open flame. But for gin, what we're doing like that, it's much more efficient and much better for the environment to do steam. With those 12, we're using steam. That's the only difference. But otherwise, the whole principle is there with the cognac still and that sort of thing. But, when we first started making Citadel, we ran into some unexpected expenses. To make some of that money back, we started selling cognac barrels to rum makers. And that's where Alexandra got to know all these rum makers and fell in love with the whole rum and Caribbean culture. And that's where plantation is born. And now, of course, the latest evolution is that we have finally found a better name, and moving forward, plantation will be known as Plantere. Yeah. Nothing's changing in the rum. It's going to be everything we've done before. We're going to keep doing it. Just it's going to be under the Plantere flag now.
So you have the cognac, the gin, and the rum. Is there any other brands within?
We're very, I talked about, Citadel being such a huge thing in Texas, even more so as Mathilde. We're very proud of the Mathildes. It's a full line of fruit liqueurs, and in my opinion, they're all great, but the peach is the standard. I have never had a peach liqueur that comes even close to it. We're super proud of that one. And Bex, we call her the Mathilde Queen, because when she first joined the team, she not only took the best maturest market for it, but really sent the numbers really high. She really put her back into that one. And of course we have Cane Rock. That is something it's very different for us. It's really our most chill spirit, if you will. Because the rest of our spirits, there's usually like an encyclopedia of information on there and sort of thing. With the Cane Rock, it's just chill. Just enjoy it. It's a spiced rum. It's an all-natural Jamaican spiced rum. Very vanilla forward. It's not a Plantere product. It's not really anything to put into a glass and dissect it and think about it. Just enjoy it. Make some nice cocktails with it. It makes the best espresso martini I ever had in my life. And I'm not an espresso martini guy, though, but still, I love those. But it's just it's different for us, but it's still very Ferrand. Yeah. As far as the quality goes, right? Yeah.
Sure. And you guys do a carousel too, right?
Of course. How can we forget about that? Yeah, the dry curacao, which, in my opinion, we make so many great products, but it is by far the most cocktaily product that we make. And people get confused all the time. It's like, well, we like this orange brand, we like that orange brand. Well, good for you. I like them too. But that's not what this is. And the best thing about the dry curacao, and it belongs in any bar program. Because it works very nicely as an orange element, but its true magic is one bar spoon at a time can bring character and balance to a cocktail. I think balance is the magic word. I think that the difference between a good cocktail program and a bad one is the ones that don't understand balance.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like a 7-layered cocktail that's, going to send you spinning out of control with all the emotions and memories. It can just be a very simple cocktail, but just as long as it's balanced. It's not easy. It takes practice and quite frankly, someone who's going to dedicate themselves to learning the art of balance. And I'm going to say that I'm 100% great at it. I've had to throw out a couple of home cocktails myself until I get it just right.
For sure. I mean, cocktails, even like 3 to 4 ingredient cocktails, are some of the best I've had. Where they've just slowly tweaked something. Like even with Nick last year, when he was or last week when we were there in Austin, like talking about how certain areas have palates are different. Like if you go to New York and compare to Houston, New York has a drier palate.
Is that right?
Based on talking to people on the East Coast, they have a drier palate versus when you come down to South, we have a sweeter palate. So generally, the cocktails that are made here are sweeter because that's what our market wants.
What's so funny is I know that to be true about all kinds of things I never really thought about with cocktails before. Yep. Like with seasoning on meats and barbecue, sweet tea versus non-sweet tea, that sort of thing. Yeah, I've never really thought about that before. You're absolutely right. Yeah. It does apply to cocktails as well.
And even when I was in Paris, like when we were in Cognac, when we went on that trip, it was bone dry cocktails. To me, needed more sugar, but that's basically what they drank over there. That's
because you were going to the cocktail bars there. Go order a cocktail at just your average Joe place in Paris. It's going to be plenty sweet, I can assure you.
Well, the ones when we went to in Cognac and a couple of the places we went to with Pete, the cocktails are a little bit dry to me.
But were they regular places or cocktail places?
So they were cocktail places, so Dirty Dick's, and then...
That's what I mean. Cocktail ones, yeah. But if you go, like, let's say that you go to just like the average corner bistro, any cocktail they have, it's going to be like the margaritas come out like lime Gatorade and that sort of thing.
We didn't get any cocktails on any of the small little corner bistros.
And
always bars.
One of the biggest challenges for me visiting France as much as I do is getting a good martini. Because as much as I love all of our products, I'm in love with our gin. And sometimes I just need my style of martini, which is going to be 3-1, usually with a blanc vermouth, but I'm getting more into dry vermouth lately, but with 1 bar spoon of our dry curacao and a twist and an olive. And you order a martini in France, you have a 99% chance of getting a big glass of martini and Rossi vermouth. I was stunned by that. I was like, how do I not know what a martini is? Asking for a ranch water. This is like, there's movies about this, for James Bond, for crying out loud. They didn't know. It's kind of funny. I think one of the most uncomfortable moments I've ever had was a 15-minute stare from a young waiter that did not speak a lick of English, and I'm like pantomiming and sock puppeting and doing what I want. And he stood there with his pen and pad going, didn't blink, didn't say anything. Finally, one waiter that did speak English took pity on us all and pulled him aside and got me what I wanted. Okay. It's crazy.
Some kind of segue there, but let's talk a little bit about some of these newer products I see.
We got so much cool stuff coming down the pike. So other than just, we're super excited about the evolution of Plantation de Planteray. Of course, we're going to be, everyone's super excited about the cut and dry.
It's so good.
Do you want a little taste?
Yeah, let's taste.
So this one, we have, of course, our first, tempt. I want to say tempt. That's a bad word there. Not tempt. Words, they've heard me say this 1,000 times. Yeah. Words are like, when you reach a certain age, words are like keys. You have them, but sometimes you forget what the hell you put them. So our first venture down, a flavored spirit was, of course, the Stiggins Fancy Pineapple Rum. But that wasn't a flavored spirit because it was a true distillation. When we're distilling the pineapple skin inside our 3-star rum for a component of the rum. So we didn't want to sell it short by calling it a flavored spirit. This one is going to be more, yes, it's a flavored rum because we're not doing any distillation here. It's going to be our Barbados rum, made in our West Indies rum West Indies rum distillery facility, and it will not make the trip back to France like all other Plantere to get double aged inside our cognac barrels. It's going to be a pure Barbados product, and all the coconuts are going to be from Barbados. And it takes 1 coconut per liter, so a very limited product right now because we're going to have to grow some more coconuts because we can't keep up. We don't want to bleed the country dry of coconuts.
Yeah.
So it's just going to take a while. I'd say about 3 years we might be a little bit more fluid availability. But this is going to be that maceration after distillation and aging. We literally cut the coconuts and dry them. That's why cut and dry. So yeah, no distillation on this one with actual coconuts. We actually experimented with that, and just the runoff and the oils, the residue left behind was just this gross mess that just like, okay, this is just too much. And it didn't do what we want. So coconutty, of course, but it still tastes like rum. You know there's rum there, and there's no liqueur. We're not adding a huge dose of just plain sugar. Now, we are going 30 grams per liter of, it's the same sucre toste, the dosage. You know, what we're using in sparser amounts for, some of our rums and our cognacs, just to bring balance. We are going for a little bit of sweetening here, but not a ton. It's not like over 100 grams or anything like that. So we still want to be very much so a rum. If you like coconuts, you're going to love this. If you don't like coconuts, you're going to hate this because it's coconut through and through. You can't tone down coconuts. You know, the pineapple, much more balanced. We know, we want that to really taste like rum. But just you just can't do the same thing with coconut. It's impossible. In fact, some of our Barbados rums, due to the extra aging in the cognac barrels, brings out a nice note of coconut anyway. If you ever had our XO 20th anniversary, there's a little wisp of coconut in there, and people swear, like, you're adding coconut. No, we're not adding any coconut. That's just what happens when you take some beautiful Barbados rum and age it for double time inside, cognac barrels. I don't know. Yeah. See, there's no shame in saying I don't know. I really don't know. If I had to guess, probably like 3 to 5 years. I know I shouldn't say that. I really don't know. No one's asked me that before. How dare you?
I'm sorry.
That's it. No, honestly, I don't know. Yeah. I can tell you, because, with the, it's a different story with the Stiggins Fancy, which is my favorite. People ask me all the time what my favorite plantation or plantere is. And I tell them that it's like asking me what my favorite out-of-town girlfriend is. I love them all for different reasons.
Yeah.
My wife hates that joke, by the way. It's not true. I don't have an out-of-town girlfriend. And she absolutely hates that joke. So, but you know what, though? She told me she wasn't going to listen to this podcast, so it serves her right. I told her I was going to be on a podcast. I told her I was going to be on a podcast. Man, she's like, you're on all the time. I'm like going, but so show some interest in my life. Yeah. She's the worst. She's been calling me like 10 times also. I'm like, girl, come on, podcast. So this one is my favorite. And I, you need to come by the house one time because I'm sure you've seen my Wallow plantation.
I've seen them.
All of all the different countries and vintages that I have, wherever my night starts, it always ends up with pineapple. I drink it like whiskey, though. I drink it in like straight over a big old rock, or I love the fluffy ruffles, the rum Manhattan. I like it in an old fashioned, and I don't use that much simple syrup in any of my old fashions. But with this one, you really don't need to because it's got so much flavor there already. So it's just, and then of course, forget about it with the daiquiris. But I love it when people, again, want to challenge me with something new. I don't remember what city, state, wherever it was, but they made Sazeracs with this. So good. And I'm not a Sazerac guy. Yeah. I think the reason why I said, because remember we were talking about balance earlier? Mm-hmm. I think the Sazerac is the perfect cocktail to screw up without understanding balance.
Yes.
Super easy. But it just blew me away how good it was. Yeah. So I always come back to this one. But the age on this one, I can tell you that it's going to be a blend of our 3-star rums, which has barely any aging whatsoever, just enough so it's got that continental aging. And of course, our original dark, which is going to be average 2-year-old Barbados with a little bit of 10-year-old Jamaican.
Okay.
And it's going to spend 6 more months in a barrel. This one, I honestly don't know, man, but I will find out for you. That's a promise.
Stiggins is my favorite for daiquiris, and I love mixing with it. It's so good. This one's a maceration process too, right?
Yes and no. So we are doing that true distillation with the skins in the 3-star in the cognac barrels, but we're going to blend that with a macerated original dark in the meat of the pineapple. So it's a little bit of both, Yeah. And again, I just don't like to call it a flavored spirit because that's just so underselling it. It's not giving it, quite frankly, the respect it deserves because And this whole thing didn't exist. Just something that I think it was challenged by David Wondrich, said to Alexander, hey, there was this guy named Reverend Stiggins. He was a character in the Pickwick Papers, Charles Dickens' Pickwick Papers.
Okay.
And he was always preaching the evils of alcohol, but also drinking off of a pocket flask of pineapple rum. Well, that's just delicious hypocrisy, right? So we, did a little research with David's help, and we found out that it was actually a real thing long ago, and I don't think we had any notes or anything to base it on like we did with like our 1840 or our dry curacao. It was just sort of a trial and error. They tasted over 100 varieties of pineapple. Who knew there was 100 varieties of pineapple?
Yeah.
God, their palates must have been burnt out. Just the acid alone. And just the various, procedures and just finding that perfect little blend until we just fell in love, people all the time ask me, how come it's changed? Like, what do you mean it's changed? It's not the same as it was. Listen, no, it's not. It's going to change. It's a batch. So yeah, it's going to be slightly different, from year to year, but it's always consistency is that it's still delicious rum made with pineapple that still tastes like rum.
What is this other product you have here from Citadel?
Sitting here drinking pineapple rum all night. This one, I am so excited about this. I'm a pushy kind of guy. I can be. When I see something I want, I have to have it. We launched this product in France about a year and a half ago. It's the Citadel Rouge. And it was intended just to be something we sold in France only. But they thought it was more for that European palate. And when I was there this last trip, we snagged a bottle or two, and I just absolutely fell in love. And it was everybody's favorite spirit the entire trip. And I had to have it. So I pitched a fit and screamed and bitched until France allowed to let me bring this to Texas as a test market. So it's not here yet. We're still working on getting some TTB approvals on the American bottle because there hasn't been one yet till now. But it's an exciting, vibrant gin. Now, it's called Citadel Rouge. It's going to be distilled with berries, raspberries. I'm going to read the label because, again, I'm just learning this one myself. Cranberries, raspberries, blackberries, blackcurrant, and rhubarb, and sunflower seeds. Those are the additional botanicals in our usual 19 with our Juniper Forward Citadel Original. But the end result is, again, such a balanced gin that has notes of berry. I'm not going to say that you smell or taste the rhubarb, but you can tell it kind of just binds it all together nicely, It made such great drinks. I'm going to tell you, man, this bottle right here, I almost overdosed on Negronis with this. The Negronis were so good.
That sounds delicious.
So I'm super excited about this one. It's going to be hopefully a permanent fixture. We still do the occasional fun stuff where we used to be in the aged gin business. And we've toned that down a lot. Not that we don't enjoy making them and they're not beautiful stuff, but just the public demand for aged gins is not a big one. You know what I mean? And at some point, we have to say, okay, it's good. Passion projects are great, but you got to get people what they want. And so I'm thinking this one's going to go over huge. So it's a pretty package, and the gin's just delicious. So good. Mm-hmm. And there's some good, there's been berry gins out there. I'm going to give some credit. I think Sipsmith did a great job with their strawberry one. Mm-hmm. They hit it out of the park. But that's not this. It's not just strawberry. We're going for a myriad of flavors here. Yep. And it tastes like the name suggests. It tastes red. It doesn't look red. It just tastes red.
Yeah. It's a bunch of red fruits. It
was a last minute call to bring it with me. I think it was like 7:30 this morning. I opened up just to give it a little whiff. I'm like going, is it weird that I want to start drinking now? And I'm not a day drinker, man, because once I get started, I'm like, I got two modes. I got work mode, I got drinking mode. And if it's 10:30 in the morning, it's like, that's too early for drinking mode. As I drink right now.
We're still a little midday. This is going to be really good in a brown bowl. This is going to be so good.
I hadn't even thought about that, man. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, those flavors, Tom Collins.
We were making martinis with it. We made some gin and tonics and that sort of thing. And there was one thing in particular that's I'm going to think again, words, where's my keys? Oh, it'll come to me sooner or later. And when it does, I'll be in the middle of the night. I'm going to scream out the name. I'm going to text you.
Text me. Yeah.
And it'll come to me. Yeah. But like I said, we just, we fell in love with it in France and I had to have it.
Are there any other experimentations you're doing right now? I know he's always playing around with.
Nothing I can tell you. Do you know he came up with over 100 projects during COVID? Over 100. And as excited as I was for him, bless her heart, Debbie Gabriel had to hear about all of them because nobody else could hang around the chateau during then because of the shutdown.
Yeah.
And once they went, and he was like, sending emails and texts to the production team. I think a couple of them quit. So I was like, I can't do this. This is too much. So, nothing more dangerous than a man of ideas that's got nothing else to do all day. So, yeah. Yeah. So something like that. Yeah. So we got a lot of cool things coming. We got something very cool coming from Plantere. We'll be launching it at Tails. I can't tell you what it is, but I'll give you a hint. I think you've seen it. You just didn't know. You just didn't know what it was. You're gonna like, what did I see? What did I see? What was it? You've probably seen it before, and it's been sitting there, just waiting for the perfect time for it to blend and age and be ready to unleash upon the public. But it's coming at Tails. We're super excited about that.
Last one I want to ask you about is the yuzu.
What?
The yuzu carousel.
Yeah, we got. I just ordered 500 more cases for Texas. So the yuzu curacao is, oh gosh, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it's a wonderful product. The curse is we literally have to wait seasonally to the end of the harvest to make it because it is called late harvest yuzu. And the reason for that is because we just found out that the production method works best with the fruit that's just so ripe it's about to fall off the damn vine.
Yeah.
It has to go just super late harvest. So I want to back up a little bit and talk about our dry curacao and how it's not your average, cognac-based orange liqueur. And there's some really good ones. I'm not speaking ill of them. I love cognac-based orange liqueurs. Always have. But the production method on this one is just a little bit more than maceration and blending. We're going to start with Laraja oranges from Haiti. They're these shriveled up green angry things that are just pretty much useless other than making a spirit. And we're going to distill that, make a true distillate of that in the cognac stills. And we're going to blend it, of course, with the Ferrand cognac. And we're going to use some brandy that's not quite up to standards to be called cognac, but just kind of helps round out the spirit. It really it was just a better component than just putting just straight cognac in there. It gave it a little bit, I don't know what to call it pungency, but just helped round it out. And we have some vegetal infusions. Things like walnut skin and prune and vanilla, just to name a few. I can't tell you all of them. But we're going to blend them all together, age them longer inside the cognac barrels. And we're going to use 180 grams per liter of sucro toste. That same thing that we're using in sparse amounts to round out other spirits. We're using this as a true sweetener. But it's still considerably less sugar than your typical liqueurs, which usually run 210 or 280. It's, but I'm not going to call it like a low sugar product, but it's about as low as you can go and still have a liqueur of viscosity. So we're going to age all that for 6 more months in a cognac barrel. And that end result is, again, that product. It is a beautiful orange element, but it's also just sometimes the glue that holds together other cognacs, cocktails. So the difference is with this yuzu one is the exact same product, but we're taking out the oranges, the Laraja oranges, and we're using these super late harvest yuzu. Madagascar, I think. Okay. Yeah. We are not doing the extra aging after all the blending. We did it on the first batch, the one that we launched at Tails 2 years ago and just gave away to the caps. And it just had a little bit too much vanilla to it. Okay. And it was distracting. It wasn't bad. It distracted from the lemon. So in the last 2 batches that we've done, we've taken out the extra aging. So it's a little bit more lemon forward and not so distracting with that vanilla.
Well, that was it for today. So thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy talking spirits, and I especially always talking spirits with you.
And where can people reach out to you if they have any questions?
Okay, absolutely, yeah. The best thing, just hit me up on Instagram. No, I am on Instagram. This is Dox _ there, and of course, Greg Doxakis at Facebook.com. But also, you can reach me at gdoxakis at maisonferrand.com. That's GDOXAKIS at maisonferrand.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, and please do.
And today's lesson is you don't have to know everything as a bartender. If you don't know, it's okay not to know. Just be sure and be up forward with it and learn and keep learning and growing. Thanks for joining us on today's episode. You can follow us on Instagram or YouTube, Facebook, all the socials. Thanks again.